Good morning, people, and welcome back to the Blues Feed. A new episode with the same obsession, talking Chelsea Football Club. Before we get into it, and I introduce the people with me today, just want to remind you all of our 1K subscriber giveaway. If you'll head over to YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and enter yourselves into the chance of winning a 25-26 Chelsea jersey. Head over to any of our YouTube videos and comment, and then like, subscribe, and follow on Twitter. Today, as always, co-host Danny Windsor is here. Danny, how are you?
Very good, mate. Very good.
Excellent. And we have our first and probably the most special guest we will have on our pod, Mr. Phillips is with us, people. How are you?
I'm very well, mate. I'm the first guest on this show, am I?
You're the first guest, third episode today, first guest,
Amazing.
and probably the best guest we'll ever have, Si.
Love it. Really pleased to see you boys are doing this anyway. Good luck with it.
Thanks, mate. We couldn't have done it without you, to be fair. So we can thank you for that. And you coming on here is also another thank you. So getting into it, boys, it's been fairly quiet in recent weeks. So we'll sort of regurgitate some of the news that's come out recently. And we'll start with sort of the hybrid attacker role. The Simmons noise seems to be getting progressively louder. And there's still a little few murmurs of Morgan Rogers in the background. Si, I'll come to you first. What's your sort of opinions more than anything on the players we're being linked with, and who would you go for in this sort of like hybrid left wing /10 role?
I think Simons is a very solid option. I think he brings a lot more to the table than most of the others. I like Morgan Rogers. I think that's a really good shout. But when you look at opportunity, you look at the fee that's being spoken about for both players. I just think that Simons is going to be the one that ticks all the boxes. He's not going to be expensive. You know, he wants to come to Chelsea. Wages wise, it's not going to be too high. So I think he's going to fit within, what Chelsea want to do. Age profile, perfect. And I just think that when you're looking at the player what you want that player to do when he comes in to replace Nkunku, you want a player who can dribble. You want a player who can pass, who can, break the lines, who can break down a low block, which is what Maresca is looking for from this new attacker that he wants to bring in. Then, yeah, I think Simons is your guy. And, I don't necessarily, hate Garnacho as much as a lot of people do, but he just doesn't do the same things as what Simons does. And that's even before talking about, the obvious issues that he might bring with attitude and various other bits, with what he's brought to Man United. So, I mean, I'd be happy with Rodgers. I'd be more than happy with Rodgers. But for that to happen, you're going to need to send players to Villa, and you've got the PSR swap deals or unofficial swap deals that you've got to do to get that one done. So it's just, to me, Simons is just there. It just makes sense. It's the easiest deal to do, and he ticks the most boxes.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there, to be honest, mate. Sort of within the attacking market, we're still being linked with the odd number 9. Well, do you think it's sort of it's going to be a hybrid attacker and potentially like a Sesko has been brandished about recently, or do you think it's going to be one attacker of whichever profile they end up choosing?
I think if it all depends on Jackson. If Jackson goes, then I think they might sort of revert more to another striker, another 9 who can perhaps play in different roles, a bit like João Pedro. But if Nkunku goes as well, then I think we sign two new attackers. But I wouldn't be surprised if Jackson still stays. By the way, I don't think it's definitely happening that he's going to go. No. And then if that does happen, then they'll sign someone else to play as an attacking midfielder. But I haven't heard any new names for number 9. So for me, I don't think anything is really pushing in that sense at the moment. So I mean, we heard Sesko the other day, but I mean that's just an easy link to make because we've had interest this summer. I can't see us going back in for him. I mean, I spoke to you boys last night, and it's more like a dream really than anything else. But we were talking about Isak in the chat, weren't we? And I don't think I can't see anything happening, but I have started to hear a few whispers there that Chelsea might look at it. But personally, I can't see it happening. I think that's just a dream.
We couldn't, could we? we couldn't. I don't know.
I think if they could, they would.
Yeah.
I think if Isak decides he wants to go, and we are going to sell a Felix and then Nkunku and a Jackson, they have the money there to do an Isak. I think it will come down to how much Isak pushes, to be honest.
It seems like he's going to go this summer, doesn't it? There's little rumours and nothing really solid, but there's just little murmurs and rumours of him going. There was a thing with his agent yesterday, released a publication in a Saudi newspaper, I believe, just mentioning that they know roughly what their next step is. Like Danny mentioned yesterday, from a press conference with Eddie Howe, he didn't sound very confident that Isak was going to stay.
He
It's a
also
sort of
said
a
in
Chelsea
his
thing to do, isn't it?
He said after his the Leeds game they played, he also said the reason he was left out was due to his speculation and his head not being right. So there's obviously something going on, and I think after the Elise deal, after the Osimhen deal last summer, I just don't think Chelsea would want that type of profile of signing in the press. They're gonna try and keep it silent. They have a great relationship with Newcastle, so if it is one that is progressing in the background, they'll keep it very, very hush hush, and they'll be saying to his agent, "Don't put it out in the press." So I think if there is something going on, we'll either not hear about it at all, or we'll hear about it when it's very, very close, because they won't want to look like they failed on a big target again, because that's obviously the thing that gets branded around about those guys. They can sign young players, but they can't sign big talent. So
Yeah, the thing from Isak's perspective, Newcastle are having pretty much an awful window, aren't they? Like every target that they've had has gone elsewhere or has decided not to join them. And for a player of that quality, you want to see your team strengthening because they're in the Champions League now. Their squad's not Champions League level, really. They're a great team, but I don't think they've got a Champions League level squad personally. And for Isak, he's hitting the prime of his career. He's going to want to play with the best players in the best competitions and challenging every trophy he plays in. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him move. It definitely would surprise me to see him in a blue shirt, but it would be a very, very good surprise. On to players that we've had sort of past interest in that may resurface. You mentioned over the weekend on your site, which I'll quickly plug. I'm sure everybody who listens already knows about your site, Si, but Si released an article on his website, the Phillips Talks Chelsea website this weekend on Substack, mentioning that Chelsea have sort of regurgitated some interest in Mark Gahey.
Yes, the interest has always been there. Obviously, we know the story with Dean Housen, who they tried to get initially. At that time, Gahey was also on that same list. Chelsea did inquire as well in January for him, and he's a player that, he's universally liked, I think, at the club, and they have looked into bringing him back in. So basically, the story with that is they've gone back in, I think maybe Friday or Saturday, and spoken with his agents again. A lot like what they're doing with a lot of their targets at the moment. They're trying to get player buy-in, or at least not full buy-in, but see if they're interested, see what kind of terms they'd want. And they know that with Gahey anyway, because they've spoken with his agents quite a lot. But this new contact would suggest that they are once again turning to him as an option for centre-back this month. It's not been the priority. Maresca's prioritised the attack, so we know that, and we're signing there first. We've got Delap and Pedro and Gittins already for there, so that has been the priority, and then they're turning back to centre backs and hopefully a goalkeeper as well. So I mean, I've got to find out. I haven't found out yet the results of that conversation, but I will check in on that today. And find out, if he's open. We know he's open to a move, but if it's actually feasible, if it's doable for this window, and what kind of fee that Palace would ask for. I think it is one, definitely. That I said to Danny months ago, I can see this one happening. I do think it is one that it keeps coming back up, and it seems like a safe bet. He's available. He's got the short contract left, so I don't think the fee would be too bad. And he's a player that, like I said, Chelsea really appreciate and have done for a long time. And again, it's all about box ticking for me. And I don't think he ticks all of the boxes, but he ticks quite a few of them.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's an England international at the end of the day. He's a leader. He's a captain of his club. So he definitely got some attributes that we need, I believe. But I'm torn on it. I think that Trevor Chalobah's been so good since his return from Palace. Danny, sort of two-pronged question to you, really. Where do you sit with Gahey, and who do you think's better, Gahey or Chalobah?
I don't think there's much in it, to be completely honest with you. I think he is a good player. I'm not sure he's particularly good with the ball at his feet. I'm not sure if you can, like, if, say, for example, you signed him and you're playing him on the left as a cover for Colwell or with Fofana or something like that. I don't think he has the ball passing, kind of the break the line passes like a Levi Colwell does. It's obviously a very cheap deal because of the buyback kind of sell on percentage, whatever you want to call it. So even if it was 50, you're kind of talking 40 odd for us because we have that. I'm not convinced. I never have been convinced. I certainly wouldn't be against the signing. I'm not going to go like kick off and say no, but I'm not sure it's one I'd do.
It's one of them that's sort of nice without really putting up any trees. Like I can sort of see the reasons behind it. A good fee, good player, knows the club, leadership, etc. But it's not one that's going to get people off their seats really. Whilst also, like you say, it's probably not going to cause too many issues within the fan base. Um, you've got sort of Gahey links, Jarell Hato links. So, what do you think? One defender more this summer, or do you think we end up with two?
I keep going back and forth on this. I think I've always thought, or I always heard, that Hato was really going to be cover for Cucurella if they can get that one over the line. But I've also heard this week that Chelsea are quite happy to go internal on that as well. And I mean, a lot of people will disagree with this, but they like the fact that Gusto can play there. They also like the fact that Achimpong can play there. So they believe that there is cover for Cucurella already in the squad, even though that they're not natural left footers. And to be honest, I think Achimpong is actually good cover for there. I think he's that good that he can play with both feet anyway. I think he's that good that he could provide that cover. But I think if we're being serious about this, we do need to get two in, and we do need to get a specialised left back to come in and cover Cucurella. I know Hato is a centre back as well as a left back, but he does fill that void. So I think my gut instinct is that they'll still look for two, but I do know that conversations have been happening this week with it in mind that they perhaps don't need to, and they do already have internal players that can do that job. Because I haven't even heard anything about Achimpong loan at the moment. I think Maresca's quite keen to keep him in the squad this season and going into the season because of his versatility, and he can fill a number of positions, and we've seen how good he is. But he needs minutes, so it's that's another question. Would it be better for him to go out and get those minutes? Probably. But he is a very good player to have in the squad because he can play in so many different positions. He can play centre back, right back, centre midfield, left back. He can invert, and we just know how good he is. So, but I do think I had heard that Chelsea want an out and out centre back. So Hato, I don't really think can be called that. So that does, that's why I keep going back and forth on this one, because I do feel that there could still be two coming in.
I feel like sort of one of two things has got to happen, really. I think for an out and out centre back to be signed, I think Badiashile's got to go because realistically, it's going to be really difficult to get rid of Wesley Fofana. I think Tosin and Chalobah have earned their squad spots. Obviously, Levi's the starting centre back, so that just leaves Badiashile. I think he's got to go, and then I think with Josh, like if we're gonna get two defenders, which it's definitely plausible, I think we could end up with like a Hato, somebody who can do both roles, which means we can keep Josh in the squad. But if we get two, Josh needs to go on loan because his minutes are just going to be even more reduced. And like you say, I don't mind him playing left back, but what it does is it stops the width on that side, which is fine if you've got Gittins playing because he wants chalk on his boots anyway. But if you've got sort of let's hypothetically say Simmons comes through the door and he's playing on the left, he wants to be in the inside pockets, which means you're going to need somebody round him. Josh isn't going to overlap on the left hand side; it's not going to work. But he could be the left sided centre back in a three on the ball which means the left back tucks into the back three, the right back can bomb forward. So I do see it. I just worry if Cucurella was out for a significant period of time that we've left ourselves a little bit short there. On this sort of topic, for any of this to happen, we're going to need some outgoings, aren't we? Really, we've really got to start getting on a bit, and it looks like Renato Vega could be the next one out the door.
Yeah, he's got to go. I think he's got it in his head that he's going. It's been clear that Chelsea have been more than happy to sell him. I think Atletico are the ones at the moment that are being most heavily linked. I haven't actually heard anything on this, but it's not one that I've checked in on because I'm just expecting him to go. And I think he's probably one of the easy outgoings for Chelsea to sort out. You know, there's no issues with his wages. It's a universal feel that they all want this to happen. He wants to go and Chelsea want him to go. So, yeah, I expect that to happen very soon. But you're right with the outgoings. I was looking at that this morning. There's so many, you know, that need to go, and there's others who could still go. So Chelsea need to get the ball rolling with these now, without doubt. You know, Club World Cup is a week and a day old now, so there's no excuses not to try and start pushing some of these through. You know, you mentioned Felix earlier. He's another one. We've still got Sterling. We've still got Chilwell. Badiashile, I think, you know, even though he said that he's staying or he wants to stay, I do hear that the club still, you know, want to sell him. So there's just so much to do, but you've got to start hearing things now, and Chelsea have got to get the ball rolling with at least, you know, 2 or 3 of them, and you want to be hearing something on that this week as we approach the end of July and then going into August. You know, if they still want to get 2 or 3 more players in the door, they're going to be risky, you know, leaving it a bit too late.
Yeah, we sort of need 2 or 3 outgoings a week really for the rest of the window to even get close to the amount that we need to do. I think I looked the other day and it's sort of high teens, early 20s of players that need to go out the door in one capacity or another. I saw a little bit yesterday, and I'm not sure if you've heard anything on this side, but Tyreek George has been linked to Ipswich, which, as you'll guess, is nice for me to hear. Have you heard anything on that at all?
No, I've not heard anything. I know he's going on loan. But yeah, I guess that would be a move that makes sense.
Well, I think from what I heard, there's good connections within the clubs, and Amari Hutchinson is expected to still go to Brentford. I know there's been a thing with his release clause. But yeah, I heard that Tyreek George to Ipswich on loan was a sort of a favour for the Liam Delap deal. I know there was an initial talk of Mark Ewer going to Ipswich, but he rejected that, I think. Dan, where do you sit with outgoings? Anything that you want to talk about? Renato Vega, it's a bit of a shame, but he sort of made his bed and has got to lie in it now, really.
Yeah, I think Vega, as soon as he joined, this is one of the things that really annoys me about players. It reminds me a little bit like the Lukaku situation. Is you join the club, you tell everybody that you're a Swiss Army knife and you'll play anywhere you want. The club wants you to play and the manager wants you to play. You start getting some minutes and impressing, and then you decide that your only way into the national team is playing centre back. So then you only want to play centre back, and you kind of push yourself out the door, and then now you want to leave because you won't play centre back here. So yeah, I think he's decided his attitude stinks a bit, so just get him gone. I wouldn't be surprised if that is progressing behind the scenes, as you kind of saw the Hato links kind of come back and heat up a little bit. I was always told it was going to be once Vega leaves, they'll kind of push for that left back, so kind of left centre back hybrid role to kind of be signed. So I think that's why Hato probably comes back. I mean, we saw on other outgoings, we saw this morning that Fabrizio Romano said Chelsea still don't want to loan Carney. They want a permanent deal for him. I feel like they'll probably have to change that opinion as the window goes on, and he'll probably end up at Dortmund on loan again. Don't know what you've heard about Carney overall, sir. He's got
pretty high wages, hasn't he? So Chelsea have been trying to sell him for the last 2 seasons, basically, but he's sort of very specific about where he wants to go. He's very happy playing in Bundesliga. He has had other offers from other clubs, some in the Premier League, but probably like the lower end Premier League clubs, so he's not keen to go there. So basically, you've got a situation there which is the same as what we're seeing with Sterling, what we're seeing with Chilwell. You can't force a player to go to a club, so it reduces the options that the player has, especially those on bigger wages. And then you've only got certain clubs that are coming in for him who are willing to pay the wages, and Dortmund don't want to at the moment. So, and they also don't want to pay his fee because Chelsea are asking a ridiculously high, fee for him. They want to get double what they paid for him still, I think, which will, be about 35, 40 million. So I just think that at this stage, you're pricing clubs out of a deal for him. It could be all tactical. We know Chelsea have been doing that this window. So it could be, waiting out and just saying, just see what happens in the next couple of weeks. If no offers come in, they might be more willing to drop that asking price. And Carney might be willing to drop his wages for certain clubs. But yeah, when you reduce your options, that's when it just, it starts getting a bit iffy towards the end of the season. And Carney's very much set in his mind that he ideally wants to stay in Bundesliga, and he's enjoying it at Dortmund. And Dortmund know that, so they've got that to play with Chelsea in the negotiations.
Send Carney over to Leipzig and sign Xavi Simons for me.
Yeah,
that'd be a perfect little swap. But I think that actually just builds onto like how, to be fair, we all complain about how the club is run, and we want some kind of established players on bigger wages and stuff like that. But it probably builds into the way that we're doing things is probably not as bad as we kind of originally thought, because you look at Noni, it wasn't a particularly hard deal to do because it was reasonable fee and good wages. Arsenal probably paid probably slightly more than they wanted to, but he's on next to nothing on wages. But you look at the people who we're talking about that still need to go, and we're not really hearing anything. It's your Chilwells, it's your Sterlings, it's your Carney Chukwuemekas, who are all on bigger wages because they don't want to have to move and take a 40-50% pay cut. You look at Man United, they can't sell anyone. They want to sell Rashford, Garnacho, Sancho, and they can't sell any of them. Like even Højlund, Onana, everybody like that, they can't sell them because they're all on like 150, 200, 300, some of them. So to be fair to the club, I kind of get why they're doing that, and it makes it quite a lot easier to sell them.
Yeah, definitely. And you took the words out of my mouth. I was just coming on to the sort of the regime and that first sort of window to 2 windows where they've really shot themselves in the foot with the outgoings, and you can see why they changed the model and why that model successful. Like I say, anybody that wasn't signed sort of pre-January 23 is easy to ship because their wages are decent enough that people will pay them. The fee's going to be reasonable depending on who it is, and it's going to be a pretty quick and easy deal to get done. It's those Chukwuemekas on 100 grand a week, and Kunku's on 250 grand a week, or anyone like that, Chilwell, that just we're going to struggle. We're going to end up losing money, and it's sort of one of them things. Do you just suffer it and just take it, get them off the books, get rid, and sort of move on, so that we don't have to deal with these tedious transfers each summer, I suppose, because they're going to just rumble on until the rest of those players on them sorts of contracts are gone, I think. Moving on to sort of this season and what we can expect and what we do expect of the team and the club now. Obviously, we're going into it as world champions. That brings a certain label. We finished in the top 4. We've got Champions League football. So what do you think we need? And also, what do you expect from us in the coming season? Where do you expect us to be? And yeah, what do you think we need to achieve that?
I think we need a really good run in the Champions League first and foremost. I think that is going to be so important because I mean you can win the Club World Cup over the course of a knockout tournament, but to do it over a sustained period in the Champions League, so you've got the group stages and then the knockout stages, but it's across the whole season, playing against very good teams every week, especially when you get past the group stages. That is the big test, and that is really going to show us where we are in terms of challenging again. And I think if we can prioritize a good run in there, I'm not going to say that we're going to win it or even get to the final, but if we can get to the latter stages, the quarters, even the semis, that would be really, really impressive, and that would really show us where we're at alongside the Premier League. I think the Premier League is a different ball game than the Champions League, and some might say harder, which it probably is, because we're lining up against teams who are not going to be as open, who are not going to be coming at us like they will be in the Champions League, like PSG did. And we saw how well we played against PSG, because that game was so open, and we were able to just really showcase our talent and our attacking talent and what we can do. But in the Premier League, you're going to be facing low blocks a lot of the time, and that's a new challenge. And getting results and grinding out results week in, week out against those kind of teams, that's going to be a huge test to see where this team is at. And I think if we can get far in the Champions League, if we can again get top 4, I think is my expectation. Get a cup. Hopefully get a cup, a domestic cup, to add to the trophies, to keep that momentum going as well. You don't want a season without a trophy. So if we can win, a Carabao or an FA Cup along the way, that would be great. That's my expectation. I think in terms of where we're at, I don't think we can still expect too much going into next season. We still have to remember that, it's all still quite new, and the players have all been like thrown together. So they need to gel. We're buying more players again this season. But, there's the other side of this that people will bring up if we start, playing badly again, that they've spent so much money and we've got to see results, and we do. So you've got to find that balance. People are not going to accept another season if we're, hovering around 7th. Again, then just not going to accept that. We have to be up there challenging. I expect us to be around 3rd place next season, hopping up and down from there rather than hopping around the 7th place spot. And that's the improvements you need to see. And the Champions League run, as I said, will go a long way to convincing everyone that this is the right thing to do and the project is going to work. But I think until they do that, I'm personally staying quite grounded and not expecting too much.
Yeah, it's definitely what you say. It's about progression and improvement, really, isn't it? You just want to see them build on the last campaign. Like, if we're going to put the Club World Cup tournament into the last campaign, we've come off it. We've finished really well. The last 20 odd games, we've finished really nicely. We've won, I think, 15 out of 21 or something like that. So we've finished nice. We've ended up with 2 trophies, and now it's about progressing. And that doesn't necessarily mean we need to win 3 trophies, but it just means we need to compete in the more high level tournaments and in the high level games. To be honest, it's been the one thing that I've hated in the last few years is those real big games, the Man Cities, the Liverpools, trying to beat Arsenal, that sort of thing, that we've really, really been poor. And I want to see us competing against those rivals, not necessarily in the league. I don't think we're going to take teams all the way. I think, like you say, we'll probably finish around 3rd or 4th, 5th, maybe in around that sort of area. But in the one-off games against the Man Cities, the Liverpools, the Arsenals, I want to see us compete and take games to them. I don't want to see us go in there scared or like we know we're going to come off second best. I really want to take it to those teams. Danny, where are you sitting with if the Premier League started tomorrow? What do we need to reach your expectations? Or if the transfer window was going to finish tomorrow, where would you see us finishing, or seeing how the season panned out with where we are now?
I think I'm similar to you guys, but I'm trying to think about it in points instead of positions. I think we got 69 points last year. If we can turn 69 into kind of 74-ish, I don't think that's a massive jump up, especially how poor we were for a long period of last season. So yeah, about 74-ish points, I think, which would put us around second, third. And then you have to get through the Champions League into the knockouts. If that's in the playoff bit or if that's in the automatic qualification into the knockouts, and then it's draw dependent. I'd like to say quarterfinals is the minimum I'd expect from us. But if you get a team that really underperformed like last season, like PSG, Real Madrid, etc., and you get a bad draw and you go out in the round of 16 to one of them, it's not the end of the world. But I don't want to see us exiting the Carabao Cup early to Brighton like we did last time, or the FA Cup early. I want to go deep into those 2 knockouts of Champions League, and then around that 74 points mark, which would put us second, third on average if you go off history.
Yeah, I agree with you there, mate. Something I think we're going to need, boys, to really push on and off the pitch over the coming years is revenue. And I think there's a lot of talk at the minute about the sort of front of shirt sponsor and that sort of thing. So have you heard anything at all on the sort of sponsorship side of things, or any new partnerships, etc.?
Yeah, it's getting closer. They're definitely advancing with talks between a number of airlines, I think, at this point. And that's going to be one of the most likely front of shirt sponsors. So I think we'll hear something about that very soon. I do, obviously, with the winning the Club World Cup and having a good end to the season, being in the Champions League again has been massive for this. I think, a lot of people are saying that at the moment that Chelsea have held off, and it's been good that they've held off, and it has been very risky if that's exactly what they were doing. But if it works, it works, and it seems to be at the moment, because they've got a lot better options now, and they're going to get a lot bigger deal, which is going to be great for the club. And I do expect us to hear something from that very soon. Now, I got told, I think it was last week actually, that they were talking to a number of airlines, so I think we'll get one of those soon, and it will be a very good deal.
Excellent. It's nice to hear, and it'd be nice to see a big name on the front of our shirts again. 'Cause it's been a little while now, hasn't it? Really. In hypothetical world, boys, let's have a little bit of fun for a sec. Who would be the dream sponsor? What would you want to see on the front of our shirts for the next few years? Danny, go to you first.
I really liked the Paramount Plus before the Premier League threw a wobbly for no reason. I thought it was a good fit. Like, as a company, we could have had some fun adverts out of it. I think it would have been a good mix of everything, good money as well. But obviously, they ended that. I quite like the Qatar Airways or Riyadh Airways. I just think of the mock-ups that we've seen online, they look the nicest. But if I was going to throw it back as just a bit of fun, I quite like the Samsung sponsor back in the day, just for a bit of nostalgia.
Yeah, I like that sort of thing. So, what's sort of the dream one for you?
I was going to say Paramount as well, because I saw mock-ups of that, and that looked great. I think that looked really good. But yeah, I mean, can we get Cause back? They were pretty good, weren't they?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'd like a bit of Cause. I feel like Guinness would look great. Do you know what I mean? Just, it's the font. It's something about the font that would look good. And I've always thought about, since we've had American owners, it's Coca-Cola and Apple. I feel like there just would be some sick designs to go on the front of a shirt,
Coca-Cola and Napoli, aren't they?
I don't
know.
Napoli are Armani, aren't they?
Oh, okay, fair.
I think any of the airlines would look good. Literally any of them, they would look really good. And the mock-ups around are just great. And I mean, we all know that shirts look better without any sponsors at all, but that's not doable, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm still debating, do I buy the new kit before we sort our sponsorship out, just to go 3 years in a row, or do I do it with the sponsor? I haven't decided yet.
My missus just bought me the new away kit. Well, she bought it for me, her, and my daughter before the sponsor. I was like, that one, because the line's down the middle. I was like, I want it before the sponsorship comes in. Like, with the home kit, if I'm going to get it, I don't mind the sponsor because it's fairly plain blue. But the recent years, the kits with no sponsors have looked so nice.
I've rushed out the last 2 years. Like, I must buy one before the sponsor comes because it's going to happen any minute. And then we're like 2 years down the line with no sponsor. I tell you, one sponsor I'd absolutely love, and it wouldn't be a main kit sponsor, but I'd love to have a shirt from them, would be Jordan. Because their kits that they make for PSG and all of their other brands are just.
There was talks about it for a little while, wasn't there? But I think that's sort of probably ended a little bit abruptly. I think
the PSG winning the Champions League
kind of made it. Helped us.
They probably just made it. Well, there's no real need this year to kind of go into another sponsorship that's going to cost them 40 million or 30 million for just one kit or what have you. I think I do think they want to. I've heard that they want a London-based kind of kit sponsor, kind of to build up their Jordan brand, and it might be they sponsor the third kit or something like that. So if we can consolidate ourselves into a Champions League side, I would not be surprised at all if we start hearing about it again for next season. The problem is we weren't Champions League team. They take months to kind of design, promote, build the advertising, get the players to do all of that type of thing. And we obviously took it to the last day of the season. So I think if we start strong and round Christmas time, you might hear about that again if it looks like we're definitely going to get Champions League again.
Well, whoever gets us is getting 4 years of the world champions anyway. So I'm a little bit conscious on time because I know you've got some other engagements this morning. So if you've got to pop off, mate, then feel free, and me and Danny and I will continue.
Yeah, I better pop off now, boys. But it's been a pleasure.
Really appreciate your time, mate.
Best
And
of luck
everybody
with-
go and check out Simon's site if you're not subscribed on there, because he's got loads of stuff coming up. So yeah, make sure you go over there, boys.
Cheers, lads.
Thanks, I see you soon, mate.
See you later.
Well done. First guest done. Couldn't have got a better guest in for our starting show with a guest.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Friend of the
Yeah.
show will always be. I'm sure we'll have him on multiple times.
100%, and I'm sure listeners will want to hear any other exclusives he's got in coming weeks. So back onto bits we've gone through today, Dan, because I feel like I haven't really got too much from you as we wanted to get a bit out of sight. Where are you sitting with everything right now around the club and around the sort of the news has been quite quiet, so there's not too much to go into. But where are you sort of sitting? What do you think's going on, and what do you want to see happen in the next sort of week or so?
I think naturally it was going to slow down after the Club World Cup because I'd imagine a few people took a few days off here or there, and after kind of working for a year solid. So I don't think that's massively surprising. I think outgoings are the priority, and I think they need to be the priority. Otherwise, we're going to get into a situation of a bomb squad when they come back in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I personally, I think I said it last time, but somebody like a Hato to do centre back and left back, I think is sufficient. I don't think we need anything on the right. You've got Tosin Fofana, and left. Don't really rate Badiashile that highly, so his Colwell cover and Cucurella can't be our only left back. I know we talked about Josh as cover, but I'm sorry, I'm not confident. At right back, I wouldn't mind, but at left back, I'm not confident going to the Bernabeu, the Camp Nou, PSG, or anywhere like that with Josh Hashimpong as our left back cover. I think it's a big ask for him, and I don't think it's quite what we should do. So I definitely think we need that. So I would be going to get Hato. I think we need another attacker. My assumption, and based off little whispers I heard as well, they've not kind of given up the Rodgers kind of situation. They see him as the priority, and then I think if they decide, okay, he's not available, then they'll go and accelerate on Simmons. So I think if you went and got Hato, one of Rodgers or Simmons, and then I still think we need a goalie. So I'm getting there. I'll probably give the window a 6 out of 10 so far. I think we've done some good outgoings and some good incomings, but until they sign a goalkeeper, I'm not going to give them their flowers because that's just the position that we need a new goalkeeper.
Yeah, I can see that one rumbling on until the end of the window. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be done instantly. I definitely feel like what you said. I think sort of the Vega out, Hato in could happen quite quickly if that's the player we decide to go for. It looks like Vega's going to go to Atleti pretty soon. Yeah, I agree with the window so far. Sort of 6.5 out of 10. I think the João Pedro signing is making that slightly better. It's probably edging me to a 6.5 because when we signed him, I was happy. I like the idea of the player. We've got a very small sample size, but that sample size has been electric. The goals he scored, the manner he's sort of played, and the way he's carried himself, I've really liked watching him so far. And I've just got to touch on it one more time before we close. We couldn't with Alex Isak, could we?
Mate, I said it earlier when Si was on. I think he is the dream signing that the guys would want, the kind of sporting directors and the owners would want. I think it's one that they would break the wage structure for if you want to call it that, they would spend the money. I mean, if you believe the reports, like the 110, 120 mark, it's a lot of money. But also, if you sell Felix for 25, 30 million and Kunku for 25, 30 million, Jackson for 50 million, we're not
paid for.
far away for there. I mean, who says no if Isak wants to go? Who says no on a Jackson to Newcastle and in Isak to Chelsea? I
Yeah.
think he's Jackson is nowhere near on the level as Isak, but he's an underdeveloped stylistic similarity kind
Yeah.
of to an Isak. I mean, we do them a little bit of a favour. They do us a little bit of a favour, but I think if we could do it, Chelsea would do it tomorrow. If a few things line up.
Yeah. Well, Liverpool are out of the race. Arsenal are in for Gyökeres. Man United don't have the capabilities. City wouldn't need him. Real Madrid won't get him. Barcelona couldn't afford him. It's pretty much Chelsea or Saudi, really, or stay at
Yeah.
Newcastle. But if
And he
if he's
doesn't
to
seem to
go,
want to stay at Newcastle.
but do you blame him? I mean,
No,
like
no,
like I
not
said
at
a
all.
bit earlier, like Newcastle are struggling in this window. They're trying to show a bit of ambition, but every time they try, it flops. Even somebody like James Trafford, they've been trying to do this deal for over a year, and now he's going to go back to City. They're just not able to get it over the line. And I think probably players have seen the last time Newcastle got in the Champions League as sort of a little bit of a red flag in a way, because all right, you've done it once, but you're not. What if you don't sustain it? Then where am I at in a year's time? So I think it's going to be interesting. I obviously I would love it. And so let's talk hypothetical land. We sign Alex Isak. Where do we finish in the league?
I think we can go for the league.
I think if we was to get a goalkeeper and the sort of defender that we're talking about, we'd still. I don't know if we'd need that left wing /10 hybrid. Then I sort
No,
of
I think Pedro
because
would
you
be
could
pushed
just
out
drop
there.
Pedro back out into that role.
Mm.
I don't see a way we don't challenge for the league at least if he was to come in. Obviously, we're talking
You look at
hypothetically here.
us last year. You had Jackson that had 7-8 goals in the Prem. I'm talking about only. You had no other striker that scored goals for us in the league. You go and add. Isak's going to score 18 to 20 Premier League goals. He has done for pretty much the last 2 seasons. Maybe slightly, maybe 15 to 18 goals because he probably wouldn't have penalties. If you put a 15 to 18 goal striker at Chelsea with Palmer, with Pedro, with Esteval, with Neto, etc., there's no reason why you can't challenge for the title. And I'd happily leave that left 10 hybrid alone. Pedro can kind of fill in there, save your money, kind of gives you another look at Rodgers in the future if he doesn't move. I think if you're going to spend 55, 60 million on Simmons and you're going to sell Jackson, for example, if you can get him to go to Villa to Newcastle or something like that, just reinvest that Jackson money and go and get Isak.
It almost guarantees Champions League football for the next few years. I'd say.
It guarantees you probably, second and third for the next 5 years.
Because he's probably outside of Haaland, and I don't. Some people call Mbappe a 9. I'm still not convinced he's actually a 9, but he's probably the best out and out 9 outside of Haaland in world football. And Harry Kane. Outside of Haaland and Harry Kane, he's probably the best number 9 in world football, right?
I think he's the best overall 9 in world football. I think only Kane comes close to him as an overall 9. I don't think Haaland does. Haaland is a one-touch finisher, unbelievable finisher. But if you're looking at an overall footballer, Isak is the best. Is only him and Harry Kane. And I'd rather, if you're going to sign one of them, I'd rather sign Isak, 100%.
Well, I'm going to be dreaming of Alex Isak in a Chelsea shirt until I see Fabrizio say, "Here we go to Al Hilal next week" or something like that. So
He'd be an idiot to go to Al Hilal.
Yeah, I know.
And he'll be one of those ones that goes to Al Hilal and you'll see it in January. You'll already hear, oh, he wants to leave or what have you.
I don't know. He
And
doesn't
then
strike me as that sort of money orientated footballer, to be honest.
I don't think he's on particularly much at Newcastle, to be honest.
But even with that, I think with Saudi, it doesn't really matter what you're on previously.
No,
you're
sorry, I
gonna
just
get.
mean about the money
Yeah,
grubbing kind of player. He's on
I just don't see him that way.
according to Capology, he is on 120.
Yeah, it's minuscule, isn't it? Really, for a player of the ability he's got.
Yeah, I mean Chelsea would
Well,
offer him 180 base plus bonuses in a heartbeat, maybe even 200 plus bonuses. Like he's one that they'd break it for. I know that. I know that for a fact. So
oh, Dan, I'd
um,
love to see it, man. I'd love to see it.
if he is going to go and he will push, Chelsea will be there. I can pretty much guarantee that.
Yeah, and
That's one of the ones
that's the
that
thing that sort of
they'll
gives me a
rip
bit of
up the rest
confidence.
of it. They'll rip up the
Yeah,
rest of it. Oh, we're going to sign Simmons. Okay, no problem. Pedro, you go left 10 and Gittins is left. Isak, you're coming in. Delap, you can learn off Isak. Which is
yeah.
exactly the move I told Delap to do on
Newcastle to
Simon's
make. Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
Go to Newcastle to back up Isak, learn off him, and progress into a starting role. So
Yeah. This is the thing that gives me that little bit of sort of optimism around the deal is that if he goes, there isn't anywhere else in Europe he's going to go.
Saudi and us.
I genuinely don't know if there's another place in Europe because Bayern Munich couldn't afford him, and they
Not
don't
unless they
need him
sell
for Harry
Kane, but no
Kane.
one's going to
Yeah,
buy Kane.
no, Harry Kane's leaving Bayern next summer, from what I've heard. I just don't. PSG probably could afford him, but do they need him?
The only other person who could sign Isak would be Real Madrid if they decide to cash in on Rodrigo
Vinny.
and Vinicius,
Yeah.
and then they move Mbappe to the left. But that's a next year thing. I think Rodrigo goes this year, and then Vinny will be. Let's see what happens.
It reminds me. It sort of reminds me of the Enzo Fernandez deal in a way. It's like Chelsea just need to get it done before other teams are in for him.
Yeah.
Because, like you say, Real Madrid are probably going to be in for him next summer. I've heard that Harry Kane's leaving Bayern Munich next summer, so they could then come in for him. If Barcola's sitting on the bench for another year, he might go, and then PSG might invest in a 9. So then you've got them in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of does feel like for Chelsea, let's just look at it, and if he wants to go, get it done now.
I
Just
think they've
get it
done that
done.
overall because, like, yes, they signed Delap and yes, they signed Pedro and they got Gittins as well, but they're kind of replacing people who have already left, like your Modric, your Sanchos, etc.
Yeah,
Now they kind of have the option of what they want to do depending on what comes up because Arsenal have kind of already priced themselves out of Rodrigo because they want 2 and they've already bought them Madueke. Nobody can really afford Rodgers. Like Liverpool have now signed Ekatike because they were so keen to get somebody in before pre-season. So like Chelsea are just slowly letting everybody else do their business, knowing that they're going to sign one more and they're probably going to have a lot of money to do it, and then they can pick their choice. Is that a Rodgers? Is that a Rodrigo? Is that an Isak? They're there and they go, well, we can do all of them, and the teams we're competing against are just dropping away.
yeah.
And
That's
the
the
one
thing.
thing
That
Chelsea
sort of
aren't doing this summer, they're not going for a player who doesn't have buy-in. The only one they've done that for is Huijsen, but Real Madrid weren't there and they had
yeah.
the buy-in, and he would have been a Chelsea player if Real Madrid didn't turn up and come knocking. So
See, that sort of phrase we've seen bandied about of market opportunity, it's always one that sort of grated on me a little bit. But this summer it seems to work because, like you say, other clubs are already sort of getting their business done, and we've got a lot of ours done. But we're going to be one of the only ones in a position to actually seize an opportunity if it arises. So
yeah.
I like it. I like we've done a lot of business but not finished it. We're not being rash in the market, which is quite nice to see. And yeah, we could be there if Rodrigo comes up, if Isak comes up, if Rodgers comes up. And I think if we get any one of those three, we're in for a really serious attack.
Yeah. Just to finish on the hopium of it, we've got to remember that our owners love being in the press. So imagine the media of Chelsea are club world champions. You get Isak to tweet, "I'm signing for the world champions." The marketing, everything like that. You just people they love being in the press.
Yeah.
So to finish off the hopium and finish over the episode, just remember that we love being in the press. Isak's their dream signing, and he can't go anywhere else apart from us and Saudi.
And if you also take into account when we've always heard since they started that they've always wanted that elite signing.
Marquee signing.
we've obviously signed the likes of Fernandes and Caicedo for over £100 million, but they were signings that were good that are now really good, that we've made them better. Isak comes in, he doesn't need improving, he just needs to get service. So there is that possibility that they go, look, this is now our chance to get that marquee signing that we've craved for so long. But like Danny says, we'll leave you on the hopium of an Alex Isak deal. We've done the podcast slightly different today with the guests, so we got through all of our topics early. We let Si leave as he's got other bits and bobs to get on with, and then Danny and I have had a bit of a recap. So just let us know what you think of the sort of new structure of the podcast. If you like it this way, if you like it the way we've done it previously, give us some comments and bits down below of anything else you want to see, any improvements we can make, and we will catch you next time. Thank you all for listening.